Hi, everybody. So today I went to go see Mulan at the AMC, and they're having every week, they're having a different Disney movie. And as I was going into the theater, my phone was inundated by people wanting to know my thoughts about this story that was put out today. So I promised I would do a live stream where I talk about my thoughts about this story about Your Name getting a live action film. So hopefully some people will join you. Add your feedback, your comments. If not, if you watch this late, then please put your comments and thoughts in the comment section. That would be great. So everybody who follows my channel knows I adored Your Name. I have the poster right there and right there. And it was my favorite movie of last year. It's still the best movie that I've seen in the last 2 years. It's one of my favorite anime films I've ever seen. I just love it and adore it. And it's richer and better with every viewing. So this is very, very sensitive information to hear and makes me very nervous. So, but I thought that I would go over some of the hopeful things, some of the things to not be too depressed about. So let's talk about some of the hopeful things, and we'll talk about some of the things to be very worried about. So, okay, the news out of Deadline, first of all, states that Denis Villeneuve is in talks to direct. Now, he has made, I don't think that he's made a bad film yet, the ones I have seen, and his films are beautiful. And the fact that he directed Arrival, which is a very, it has a similar tone, I feel like, at least it certainly has a similar tone of the last half of, first half is definitely more comedic. But now he's coming out with this sequel to Blade Runner, which is getting rave reviews. So that kind of makes me feel a little bit better if it was going to be Denis Villeneuve, because he isn't going to just make schlock. It's not going to be like, it's certainly at least not going to be awful looking. We know that. And I don't know, I just feel like if there is anybody, he would be probably one of the top of my list, honestly. It would be Denis Villeneuve. And so I think that's interesting. And so that's the first thing to be positive about, okay? Now, the second thing to be positive about is that you have Bad Robot that is purchasing the rights, and you have J.J. Abrams, who is going to be a producer. And what did J.J. Abrams do? This is, again, my opinion. You can watch, I did a video about how excited I am he's going to be doing episode 9, because I think he brought Star Wars back from the dead. And so if there was going to be another person that I'd trust with a beloved franchise or beloved film, it would be JJ. And also, you're going to have a man named Genki Kawamura. Sorry, I just butchered that. That he was a producer of the original film that will be producing this film. So you do have some involvement, which is good to hear. And I think you have to take the statements of these people with a grain of salt, because the Japanese culture is not one to be like super blunt or super, like, they're very, at least my experience with them has been this is a very polite culture. So anyway, he says, this guy Genki says, just like in the film, it feels like a dream. He says, Mr. Abrams and his team have captivated audiences in their masterful reinvention of known properties. We'll talk about that reinvention word when we when we talk about the negatives, things to worry about. So of known properties, and Mitsuha and Taki have found a perfect narrator, Mr. Hershire. I'm not sure who that is in the article, but anyway, to tell their sci-fi infused love story, which gave the film such drive. The meetings so far have been creatively stimulating with fantastic ideas that no doubt will make for a great movie. I'm greatly honored to work with these incredible creators in bringing audiences the Hollywood live action version of Your Name. So that, I mean, it gives some confidence, at least, that they're pretty excited. And Ryan O'Toole says, so many studios these days are so quick to jump on making movies live action after the success of the movie. I'm hesitant as well. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah, I'm definitely very nervous about it, for sure. Now, Makoto Shinkai, he's always had a little bit of a detachment to this movie, even though maybe I'd say even a little bit of a hipster attitude to the movie because he's a perfectionist. And so again, take this with a grain of salt, but he says that where's this quote here? He says that it was created with the innate imaginations of a Japanese team and put together in a domestic medium. When such a work is imbued with Hollywood filmmaking, we may see new possibilities that we have been completely unaware of. I'm looking forward to the live action film with excited anticipation. So Makoto Shinkai is excited. So it's a little bit hard to be completely down on it if the creator himself is excited about this possibility. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. But again, he's been pretty critical of the movie. You know, he's an artist. What are you gonna expect? So, yeah. So those are sort of the things to be positive about. You know, you've got a director, you've got producers who have proven track record, and you have the team behind the original film involved and excited and everything like that. So that's good to hear. So there's definitely a lot of reasons to be worried, though. First thing we're going to talk about is just exactly what Ryan said, is that these particularly anime adaptations have just not been successful. And I mean, I'm surprised almost that they're even going through with this, because Ghost in the Shell had there's been many Ghosts. It's a whole franchise. And so it has way more fans than something like Your Name. And if it couldn't get even an opening weekend decent response, I didn't hate the movie. I'm one of the people. I thought it was okay. I give it a C+. I thought it was, as an action movie, it was okay. It wasn't a great Ghost in the Shell movie, but I thought it was okay. Anyway, and certainly did look pretty. But if they can't get people to come out and give a Ghost in the Shell movie a shot, like, I find it hard to believe that they're going to give a Your Name movie a shot. And so that's what makes me nervous. The things that I feel like this movie has to have a Japanese cast, and it has to have be set in Japan. If I find out this is in the US, I will be completely off board. If it has American people, I'll be completely off board. And again, I just said that I didn't hate Ghost in the Shell, even with the whitewashing, because she's a robot. I was willing to, but in this case, like, the Japanese religion is just so essential to this story. So essential. It's so essential to the time travel. It's so essential to the body swapping. It's so essential to the whole thing with names and their culture about names and everything. It's absolutely essential that this thing be set in Japan and that be starring Japanese people. And again, I find that highly unlikely that they're going to do that, but I'm holding out hope when you have it, because it sure seems like Denis Villeneuve has been very respectful to Blade Runner, has been very true to Blade Runner. And so again, that sort of makes me feel sort of hope. And J.J. Abrams was definitely very true to Star Wars. And some people say he was too true to Star Wars. Oh, he should have done something new. He should have done something different. But so the fact that I trust these people more than I trust the process, because again, this has just not gone well. You have the not Digimon. I can't think of the name all of a sudden in my brain. That's supposed to be so horrible. I actually haven't seen it. There's been some Sailor Moon stuff. There's been some. Why can't I think of the name of that? Dragon Ball Z. It was a horrible Dragon Ball Z adaptation. The live action adaptations of anime have not been very good. And as far as people say, people think I hate remakes and transitioning an animated film to live action. I actually don't. I just hate the way that Disney markets these films. And they always seem to take sort of a jab at the original films in order to puff up their new films. And that really bothers me. I actually gave Beauty and the Beast a mildly positive review, very mild, C+. And it's kind of, it's just, it pales so much compared to the original, but it's not like a horrible movie, I don't think. I actually had Cinderella in my top 10 of the year that year. I really liked Cinderella very much. And so I'm not like completely opposed to the idea. I feel like Mulan has potential. I'm very nervous about Aladdin, but I actually think Winnie the Pooh has potential with how I've loved Paddington. So I'm not like so opposed to live action of animation, but I am opposed to when it's not treated with sort of respect, and it's not and it's vaulted as being better than the original. And what I hope with some of these movies is that they're actually a tool to introduce people to the original film. And I actually think like Ghost in the Shell, people, it's got lots of problems, that movie, but I don't think that they did that in the advertising. I don't think that they were like saying this is better than the original film. I don't think that they were, I felt like the advertising was pretty honest for Ghost in the Shell. And I do think there could have been, if more people had liked it, more people had seen it, I think that would have turned people on to the original Ghost in the Shell. But people didn't like it, it didn't work, and so there you go. So definitely the history of anime in particular, adaptations, makes you nervous, but just animation to live action in general, and the whole attitude of that live action is inherently better, it's very, very nerve-wracking. Also, like the whole idea that we have to Americanize a foreign film, not even just an anime film, but like I just read the other day that they're making A Man Called Ove as an American film with Tom Hanks, and I don't know, like we still have the original, that's fine and whatever, but like I just feel like the original was really great. It was really special, and I just don't understand why we feel the need to Americanize everything, and why we can't be more open as a society to the films of other cultures. I wish that we were, and unfortunately, we're not. So that's just a shame, really. And this is just another example. They're doing Tony Erdmann as an American remake, and sometimes those remakes can be really good. I mean, people love The Departed, and that was a remake of a Korean film, I think. I'm not sure. I haven't seen it, but anyway, so they can be good. But typically they're not very good. Typically they lose a lot in translation, and that's my biggest worry here. This movie is just so rich, and it's so deep, and there's so many parts of it that are really important. Like the music is really important. The visuals with the comets and the way it sort of immerses you in the world, and just even like little things that Makoto Shinkai does with like showing doors and showing the way that the chord is, and you see that throughout the film, and just the connection between Taki and Mitsuha is so beautiful and moving, and how the movie is more than just a silly body swap movie. And that's sort of my worry, is that you'll have sort of boob and butt jokes and stuff like that, and it will just sort of, and those are there in the film, but it's kind of gotten, I feel like those things are sort of, there's something interesting about them, the way they're sort of exploring their bodies. It's not just for the joke, and it's kind of done away with pretty quick, and then it takes you onto this higher journey. And so I don't know, that makes me very, very nervous, because this movie is a very deep, it's a very layered movie. It has every emotion that you could want. It's funny, it's sad, heartbreaking, tense, emotional, everything that you could want. And I just love these two characters so much. I can't imagine, like, even if they change their names, that will be hard for me. If they're not Mitsuha and Taki, that will be very difficult for me. And so I like, in the best of situations, like if everything turns out the way that I hope, the way it's sounding like in this article with Denis Villeneuve and J.J. Abrams and the team behind the original film, and it being set in Japan and Japanese actors and all of that, if all of that is true, then I'm actually excited, and I think it could be really cool. If, and that's a pretty likely if these things don't come and it ends up being a Americanized version of your name, then I'll be very bummed out and very annoyed. Because one of the things that we have now is we have people becoming attached and people being introduced to mediocre versions of what was once great. You know, it makes me sad that, and I, it's easy to say, oh, well, the stuff that was in the past is inherently better. That's not necessarily true, but I do think, in my opinion, that a lot of these remakes and reboots and whatever are mediocre versions of what we once had. They don't have the heart, they don't have the artistry, they don't have the love, all of that you have in the original. Certainly something like The Beauty and the Beast, or certainly Maleficent. Maleficent is the worst one, in my opinion, because it completely lost everything that made Sleeping Beauty special. It ruined the fairies. It made Maleficent into a hero. It created this horrible, lame villain. I hated that movie so much. And so, you know, and this is what makes me nervous about some of these quotes, is this idea of reinvention that they keep talking about, and that you know, that we've got the new possibilities that we had, and the new possibilities that we had been completely unaware of. Now, that makes me really nervous. And yeah, we don't want a shot for shot copy of what we already have. That's also bad. But I don't know if I want a complete reinvention either. You know, like, there's a happy middle ground somewhere in this. And so I don't know. Those are just some of my thoughts about this news. I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm trying not to be an alarmist reaction, but there's definitely room to be concerned, but also room to hopefully be a little optimistic. So we'll see. Come on, JJ, don't let me down here. I love this movie so much. So anyway, that's basically all I have to say about this topic, about your name. I put in the description section my podcast that I did with Christine Tyler on your name. And also I put the link to my YouTube video I did where I collected all of these different reviews from all these different YouTubers. If you want to check that out, and also my review of your name. And you also can look at, in year that you see, I put your name as #1 for the year. I love it. I think it's just so special, so moving, so great. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. It'll be interesting. So anyway, put your comments down below. What do you think? And thanks so much. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.